All right. Welcome back to the Scorched Earth Sports Podcast. We're going to do a recap of our Sunday sports. It's Monday. Hope you had a good weekend. Hope you survived. Hope you didn't lose too many bets. It's always a difficult thing, man. You think you got a lock, and man, I'm telling you, boy, it was a wild weekend. And we're starting to gear up for March Madness, and man, I cannot wait. That is probably one of my favorite sporting events of the year, along with probably the Masters and maybe the Stanley Cup Finals. I really enjoy that too. All right. If you could, though, please hit the like and subscribe button. I'd appreciate it. We can use the support. It's an organic podcast, and, we're all in this together, all right? I'm not going to give you what SportsCenter is. That's for damn sure. If you just heard the golf podcast, let me tell you something. Nobody is talking about NBC like I just did, and it's all true. We all know it if you watch it, but I know golf is a kind of a niche sport, so most people don't really care. I get it. Leave your comments. Tell me what sports you want to talk about. I'm Verse. We are going to have we're getting the final touches. We're going to have Brother Brian and we're going to have Brother Scott on here on a regular basis. It's going to make for a better podcast, that's for sure. We're also going to move on YouTube to our own little channel for sports, but we'll get to that shortly. All right. On Sunday, we had the Celtics running away from the Knicks, 118-105. I'm telling you, Tom Thibodeau is going to get fired after this year. He has a team, and he just believes he can just run them out there 40 minutes every game. Jalen Brunson, no free throws. They were down 20, 28, whatever it was. They got it down to 4, and then, man, they just ran out of juice. I mean, I just, for the life of me, do not understand why we're going full throttle here in the regular season. You just got to be in the top 4. What are you worried about? Okay, so you got to play Boston in the second round. Okay, versus Orlando or Cleveland. Well, whatever. You got to get to the final. At least you get a cupcake in the first round. I don't know. Are you really scared of Philadelphia if they get there? Which, I'm not buying that. I don't know. New York is 0-7 against the big three of the Celts, OKC, and Cleveland. Doesn't speak well. I think Thibodeau is just, like I've said in previous podcasts, he builds up the team. He gets the defensive intensity, but he just can't take his foot off the pedal. And there's a reason most of the player surveys, he's the last guy they all want to play for, anonymous ones. I get it. Like, who really wants to go out there? Does Cat really want to go out there and pay 36 minutes? Man, we got 2 more months till we get to the playoffs. Jesus, man, pull it back. He's going to get fired this year. You watch. They're going to flame out in the first round. The guys aren't going to be able to handle it. All right, moving on down the coast to our city of the Super Bowl champions, Philadelphia. 76ers and Embiid are exploring options for his knee. He shouldn't have played the Olympics. I get he wanted to play the Olympics. He signed the extension. Is Daryl Morey safe? This comes on the heels of him signing Paul George to the 4-year deal, which I thought was a coup. Ended up Lawrence Franks and the Clippers were actually the right ones. And to me, you just shut the guy down for the year. What are you going to do? Forget the draft pick, whatever it is. You just got to shut the cat down. Because if he has a catastrophic injury, doesn't recover, man, you just had this cat sign a $190 million extension in September for 3 years. Yeah, it's going to cripple you forever. All right, let's move over to the NHL. Mr. Ovechkin, Alex Ovechkin, netted 3 goals against Edmonton. He's 13 short of the great Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky had 894 goals. I sit here and I ponder, Ovechkin, I don't know if he really ever got his due. He played in the era of Sid Crosby. I don't think anybody ever really hit the floor like Gretzky did. He was just, all those titles in Edmonton, the team with Curry and Messier and, geez. I mean, I sit here and I'm looking at it and thinking, after this year, if he goes 2 more years, can he get to 1,000? Is that even a possibility? But I don't know. I mean, obviously, you decline pretty quickly in the NHL. It's a rough league. It's a rough thing. And kudos to him. I honestly thought, the only guy I ever thought who could beat Gretzky was Mario Lemieux. I thought he was that superstar. Honestly, at his best, I thought he was the best player I ever saw. Okay? No slight to Wayne Gretzky. I just thought Wayne Gretzky had a better team around him. I thought Lemieux had to carry a little more, but then unfortunately he had some cancer issues. He had some medical issues, and he wasn't able to have as long and storied of a career as he wanted. To me, for that 6-7 year run, he was the best player I ever saw. And I don't mean any disrespect to Wayne or Mark Messier or Ray Bourque, probably my favorite player next to Bobby Orr, or even Sid Crosby, or, there's just a lot of really talented guys out there. It's hard. It's really hard. Brother Scott sent me a text. Love Brother Scott. USA versus Canada was the most watched NHL hockey game in 30 plus years with 9.3 million viewers. I wonder how this really works, and I was doing a deeper dive into those numbers, and he's absolutely right about that. But we have streaming now, and I don't even understand how they're able to determine who's watching on streaming or whatever. It's a monumental achievement for NHL. It was a great series. I will say this, that I was looking for the Olympic final in hockey. What were the numbers from Beijing in 2022? And they didn't give them to me. I literally looked at 6 or 7 different sources. Though the game I saw was 2010, the gold medal game in the Olympic hockey final, with 27.6 million viewers watched it, and the peak watching viewership during the game was 34.8. Look, I'm happy for the NHL. I really enjoy the product. I am surprised it was that high. ESPN went all out promoting it, which I think is really good for the sport. We haven't heard anything from Bettman about what the future of this tournament is. Next year they head off to the Olympics. Are we going to get this in the 3 years between Olympic Games? I don't know, but I think it was a rousing success, and I'm happy for an NHL. Anything we can get more eyeballs on the NHL, I'm really happy with. Also in the news, A-Rod, who's probably the biggest tool in the world, steroid boy. He sank a half-court shot and won $10K for a fan. Seems like he's going to go on to ownership, along with his partner, to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Finally, little somber note. I watched the UCLA-Ohio State basketball game, and it was basically a tribute to the late, great Bill Walton. Truly one of the greatest basketball players who ever lived. He didn't have as long of a career, kind of like a Mario Lemieux. He had a lot of ankle problems. He had a lot of physical issues. They were misdiagnosed. They were hidden by the team. Won a couple titles. He won one where he carried everybody on his back in 77. He also won with Larry Bird in 86. The guy was just a joy. I would say, in my mind, he's in the top 3 people ever for color commentary. I would put him up there with Johnny Miller. And I'll leave the other one to be determined. John Madden. Yeah, John Madden. John Madden, Johnny Miller, and Bill Walton were the most persistent and honest and thoughtful commentators I've ever seen. And Bill was just all over the place. He was Van Gogh, man. He was Jackson Pollock. He was doing his art, and it was going all over. And if you can't catch up, good luck, right? I will tell you a Bill Walton story. I never met the man individually. I saw him at a couple UCLA basketball games. Haven't been to a UCLA basketball game in probably about 5-6 years. But he was just such, always had that big, goofy smile. Always a great guy. But the one moment I remember from Bill Walton, and where I really knew he was on Mount Rushmore, was they were doing a basketball game, UCLA basketball game against Arizona. And he looked over, and there was Gilbert Arenas with his little posse of clowns, and they were joking. Gilbert said something, and everybody else around him is on the payroll, so everybody's got to giggle at his stupid laugh or whatever it is. And Bill Walton looked at him, and he really made the greatest comment ever. He said, that kid used to sleep on my couch when he was growing up. And that guy made decisions, and he has to live with those decisions. And sometimes there is no forgiveness. And I was like, whoa. Now, for people who don't know what that is, Gilbert Arenas, in December 24th of 2009, Merry Christmas, he brandished a weapon in the locker room against Javarius Creedon, and it was over a gambling debt. I'm not going to get into, whatever it was. I mean, these players make tens of millions of dollars. Gilbert Arenas had recently signed a $115 million contract to renew with the Wizards. And I think they were the Bullets then, but I could be wrong. And, this guy's living high. He was the alpha male on the team. He thought he could do whatever he wanted. And he was just a little punk bitch. And that's really all it was. Arenas later claimed that the incident was just more sarcastic than actual gunplay. He was suspended for the rest of the year. His career never recovered, and I thank God for that, because Gilbert Arenas is literally one of the most stupid people I've ever seen in the world of sports. I know he does podcasts. I know he has revisionist history, but that guy's just a punk and a bitch. That's all I got to say. Hey, though, if you got something to say, leave it in the comments. I'd really appreciate it. Hit that like and subscribe button. Tell me how much you like or hate Gilbert Arenas. I'd really appreciate it. And I will talk to you tomorrow.